Mic check 1 2. So anytime the conversation around how expensive the PlayStation 5 is and how the prices for like these Xbox consoles are going through the roof, there's always someone who tries to make the inflation comparison between the cost of an expensive console today versus the cost of an expensive console in the 90s. So a lot of times what you'll hear people say is like, well, yeah, this console's $1,000, but if you were to adjust for inflation, the Neo Geo AES would have been even more money. Or they'll bring up like some of the most obscure consoles that the majority of people didn't have because they couldn't afford it. So they'll bring up like the Neo Geo, they'll bring up like the Turbo Graphics, they'll bring up like all these consoles that most people just didn't have. Because the same thing that was true in the 90s is the same thing that was true in today's time. And I think honestly, whenever people bring up that argument, it's almost kind of dumb because there's a reason why those consoles, like the Neo Geo, like the TurboGrafx 16, like the Sega Saturn in some cases, or like the Tower of Power with the Sega Genesis or the Sega CDX, there's a reason why a lot of these consoles were not popular, and it was because they were too damn expensive. They were too expensive. They cost too much money. And so why would someone go and spend a crap ton of money for a console, regardless of how powerful it is, regardless of how much, you know, processing and computing power it has, regardless of how many bits it has, 32 bits, 16 bits, whatever the case may be, regardless of any of that, when it comes down to buying stuff, there is one equalizing factor, and it's how much money you have in your actual pocket. No matter how much you want something, no matter how much you want to buy something, no matter how much you want to play something, it all boils down to the money factor. And I think having to consider money more and more and more as the years go on has kind of sucked some of the fun out of playing video games. And people just want to have fun. People just want to play video games to have fun. That is the purpose of video games. We play them to take our mind off of stuff. We play them so that we can relax after a very long and stressful day or after a very long and stressful week. At least I know that's why I play video games, and that's a big part of the reason why I wind up buying retro video games again. Because for me, playing this console is as simple as this. Grab the cartridge, put it in the slot, push it down, flick it on, and I've got hours and hours of fun. It's simple. Doesn't take any downloading, doesn't take any processing, doesn't take any compute time, rather. Doesn't take any of that. And I think that's where some of the fun has gotten lost. And now what's even worse is that companies are charging you more. They're charging you more. There was a time where if a console was a generation older than the newer generation, there was a time where that console got discounted, right? Like you actually wound up paying less for it because it's older now. And it seems like as time goes on, things are happening in the reverse. Now consoles that are older are going up in price. And it's crazy. And for me, like with my kids, should my kids ever decide to get into the hobby of playing video games and buying retro video games, I don't think I would ever let them trade in a console. I don't think I would ever let them sell their console because it seems to me these days video game consoles are like appreciating assets. I don't know. It's really kind of mind-boggling when I think about it. But like I said, when it all boils down to it, we're doing this for fun. And I think a lot of people just want to figure out how the hell can I just have fun with video games? How can I have fun? What's the ways to just simplify this whole thing and have fun playing video games again? And I think that there's a few ways from my perspective. When it comes to modern gaming, like modern consoles, which I'm not completely against, right? I haven't completely written off modern consoles. I'm just not collecting for a lot of them right now. I still have a Nintendo Switch, and although I don't buy a ton of Switch games, really any Switch games like that, it's still a console that I play, and I play it with my kids because there are some quality of life benefits to playing a modern console like a Nintendo Switch, right? The portability, just being able to easily hook it up to the TV, the huge library. Those are some of the benefits to me for the Switch. So for me, one of the ways of going back to just having fun for me has been picking and sticking with one modern console. Some people like to have them all. Some people want to have the Switch, the PS5, the PS4, the Xbox, the this, the that. And I used to be like that too. But to me, there's just too much going on there for me. Now, I get it. You might need to have a PlayStation 5 because of some of the exclusive titles that are available on the PlayStation 5 that may not be on the Switch. I get it. Um, Same with Xbox. Maybe there's some online features that you find more appealing, with the PlayStation Online Network versus the Xbox Live Network versus Nintendo Switch Online, right? Like, so all these consoles have their own ecosystem. For me, it's about finding the ecosystem that gets me the best balance between value, fun, in my case, that's the most family friendly that I can enjoy. And for me right now, that's Nintendo, right? I have kids. Nintendo's a little bit more family friendly. The library is huge. There's a ton of just, retro games that have been ported to that ecosystem, whether they be physical or just on their online store. So the Switch to me is one of the easiest ways to just have fun with modern gaming. And again, this is no knock to PlayStation, there's no knock to Xbox, but with what they're doing price wise, it's just mind blowing to me. So those are just Xbox, PlayStation, those are two ecosystems I'm just kind of staying away from right now. There's just so much going on in those environments between what the companies are trying to do, what they're doing with their pricing, just so much going on that for me I'm just staying away. So Nintendo is the Switch from a modern gaming perspective is one of the easiest ways for me to go. Outside of that, for me, the most fun ways for me to enjoy retro gaming is just going retro. Did I say retro gaming or enjoying gaming? Period is just getting retro games. While yes, I do enjoy some of those more niche consoles like the Sega Saturn, like the Sega CDX. Not so much the Turbo Graphics or anything like that. But just like those consoles, yes, I do like them. For me, the most simple and fun console to play is still going to be the Super Nintendo. It's just a ton of fun. Uh, Same thing with the Sega Genesis. I prefer Sega Genesis, but these are two consoles that are kind of like neck and neck from the 16-bit era, right? You can pick and choose which one you like better. To me, the Sega had, some more of the fun games, in my opinion. But it seems like in 2026, it's just a little bit easier to find Super Nintendo games still to this day. It's just easier. GameStop typically carries more Super Nintendo games whenever it comes to what they have in their retro drawer. Um, and it feels like to me it's getting harder to source Sega Genesis games outside of like mom and pop shops or just buying them from someone who has a collection of them. In fact, I think I dropped a post the other night that I'm actually looking to buy Sega collection. So if you have a Sega collection, hit me up on IG. I'm willing to buy your collection. I'm looking for complete in box stuff. But to me, when it comes to retro, those are still two of the most simple and easy consoles to play. From a handheld perspective, I think the Game Boy Advance is super easy. There's a lot of Game Boy Advance stuff out there as well from a handheld perspective. So that's, something very easy and cool to collect for. But I think the simplicity of retro, the ability to just plug stuff in and play it, makes it a whole lot of fun. And while, yes, some retro games are very expensive, some retro games can be costly. When I see what's happening with the prices of modern games, I don't think it's even a comparison anymore. I feel like modern gaming has completely outshined retro video games from a pricing perspective. And at this stage of the game, it's a way cheaper to just go pick up a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis, get a handful of games, and you will have an entire weekend of fun. And if you don't believe me, try it. Try it. Over the next 2 weekends, do two things. This weekend, pull out your most modern console. Get the most modern games you have and pick 5 of the most modern games. Get your family around and see how much fun you have with that. And then next weekend, pull out your favorite retro console. Pull out a Super Nintendo, pull out a Sega Genesis, pull out a couple of controllers and your 5 favorite games. Get the whole family around and you tell me 3 weeks later which weekend was more fun. Was it the modern gaming weekend or was it the retro weekend? Which one was easier? Which one was more fun? Which one allowed you not only to play the games, but do other things like talk and hang out and eat food and stuff? And you weren't as, focused on the micro transactions and the micro details and all this stuff. Let me know, because at the end of the day, it's about fun. And what's actually fun? What's bringing you joy? What is more fun to play? I feel like just, I don't know, there's got to be a simpler and easier way to get back to this. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.